It's me, Sony. Welcome back to another video. Today we are back in the Hub Studio. We're going to do a little bit of a short video. Now, I know it's been a little while since I made a video last. It's been a couple of months actually, nearly. And that's because there's a bunch of things going on in reality, and there's some fun stuff going on actually. But nothing to talk about at the moment. I will be mentioning it maybe in the next video or the one after that. As I need to get a lot of stuff done still. I'm still working on 360 Chicken, and that's the priority right now and has been for the past 2 months or so, and that's what I've been mainly working on. Well, actually not mainly working, that's the only thing I've been working on, and it's nearly complete. It's nearly ready for the Steam release, which is going to be early access, but it's going to have a certain level of quality that I never go below for a proper release. And beyond that, there are other things going on, which is what I'm kind of gonna talk about in the next video or the next one after that. But beyond that, I've just needed to do some relaxing work because there's just a lot going on. So this video is gonna be relatively kind of simple. I don't have to do much to talk about it, but it is something that I wanted to talk about, right? So yeah, I don't know which camera is best, that one or this one. Yeah, so I watch a lot of YouTubers these days, and especially since I spend a lot of time just working now on 360 Chicken, just working straight on the same thing constantly. And I watch a lot of YouTubers, and one of the things that has happened in recent years, since they used to be Let's Players and gamers, more recently a lot of those types of YouTubers have ended up doing a lot of reaction content, so to speak. And that content, oh, by the way, yeah, it is actually 2 o'clock right now, AM, which is typical of me, just to make videos whenever I can kind of be bothered to. But yeah, a lot of those YouTubers have been doing a lot of reaction content, and very often it involves sort of lifestyle type videos, things like TLC, whatever that kind of stands for, and other videos like Darman, for example. I don't know how he's supposed to be pronouncing his name, but I'm pretty sure that sounds about accurate for me. That's what I read it. That's what I would pronounce it immediately like that. And other channels as well that do smaller sort of videos like Cut. Now that's the one we're going to be talking about today. Regularly I will do a how it works video and describe the physics or mechanics of a video game. Today we're going to be looking at a video wherein there is a game being played. So a little bit different, but we're still going to touch a little bit of science. Well, we're not really going to do science so much as we're going to look at a video and critique it, as I will do with pretty much everything that's in front of me. Immediate critique is the kind of standard that you're kind of expecting at this point. So let's have a look at the game first. We're going to have to switch over to camera number 4 and pop open our green screen. There we go. Right, wonderful. So you should be able to see the button. So let me just quickly explain the game. Essentially, for those of you who haven't seen it, although I highly doubt there's going to be many of you who haven't already seen a bunch of YouTubers watching and reacting to parts of this content. What goes on is, essentially there's 2 people sitting next to a button, as you can probably see here. And, right, so there we go. We've got 2 people sitting at the button, like so, ... And what happens is the button will glue glow blue. That's the one I'm looking for. Right, the button will glow blue, and that's the sort of neutral state. When it turns red, each of the players, whichever player wants to, can press the button, and the other person is eliminated and another person comes in. Essentially, it's speed dating, right? So basically, they're trying to look for a date. Whoever's compatible will just not press the button when it's available. Let's look at the mechanics of the button before we actually understand how that works. The mechanics of the button are that there are 3 sort of specific states. The blue glow at the top here, so there's actually 2 sets of lights. They are ring lights inside, it's just all RGB LEDs. The blue button at the top there, the button, turns blue, and when it's blue, the underlying light will be blue as well. right? So you've got a blue button and you've got an underlaying blue, an underlight blue. That's step one. That's sort of one state. Now, when the button's going to turn red, what happens is the underlying light turns white first, and then the top button actually starts to fade into red. And what happens is the actual top of the button, the right side of the button, turns red, it goes behind, and then curves around and becomes completely red. That's state 2. So state 1, blue, blue. State 2, red button, white underneath. The white happens first. And then state 3, after someone presses the button, click, 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 both remain red, right? So the underlying light suddenly turns to red. It's very important to note these states, because what I'm going to be pointing out is going to rely essentially on the lighting of the scene. You'll also notice that the table itself is lit with white glowing LED strips along the edges. That's actually rather important. And they've done that, I think, on purpose. Why have they done it on purpose? Because it will kind of hide what they are doing, right? So this is kind of gonna be a bit of an expose type video. Oh, this is just awkward, man. But this is my kind of reaction, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna skip over to like our first thing to look at. So here we are, right? And this will give you a bit of an understanding of what we're going to critique here. So if you have a look here, we're at 45 seconds. We're going to note something almost immediately. Let's just have a look at what they're doing here. Okay, so the other thing to mention is that there is a speaker inside the button as well, right? Inside the box, there's a speaker. And that speaker is controlled by a microphone. When someone speaks into the microphone, you hear this, the button speaking, essentially.
Joyce likes to eat cheese and banana.
Sounds like that. When it does that, when someone's speaking into the microphone, you will see that the white glow, the underlying blue light, changes to a white glow that is pulsing. And let's look at that one more time. You can see it's pulsing, right? So that's underneath here. And you can see it switched immediately after it finished talking. Immediately it switches to blue. Now you can see it just changed to blue. Very important note to make is that when it changes colors, you can see the light glowing on the hands of the people. So here we go, on the left side here, we've got his hands sitting on the table. And when the blue light switches, when the light switches from white to blue, you can immediately see that there is a blue glow on his hand. You can see this also on her hand there, right here, right? So you can tell what color the underlying light of the button box is by looking at the reflectant, this is how you know it's 2 a.m. Reflection of the light on them, right? The glowing lights, you can just about tell. And this is exactly why they've got white lights surrounding the whole table to kind of mask this. But let's have a look at what happens here. Okay, note how she's talking. Watch what happens here. Okay, right, so he's pressed the button, now she has to leave. But there's something a little awkward with what we just saw, and this is what I'm trying to pick up on here. So you'll note that, remember, when that blue light switches, we can see the glow here, and we can see the whole underlying light of the light, right? The underlying glow. You can see the glow on him, you can see the glow on her. A very important note to make is that you can see the glow right across the box. If the button is blue, it'll be blue underneath, unless the button is talking. And if the button turns red, the underlying will be white, or it will turn red when he presses the button. So what actually happens here is not what we think we're seeing, right? She's talking, and you can see he's pressed the button, she hasn't responded at all. She doesn't seem to have noticed the button change. That's because it never actually did. Not in the footage that you're seeing of her, look carefully at the button here. So it changes from blue to white, indicating that it's about to switch to red. Like this, the sound has played, the button changes to red. His hand, you can see the glow has changed. You can't actually tell on her side because she's moving her hand a lot, but you can see that there's a tiny bit of blue coming off the edge of the box. Whereas on the left side, it's completely white. Here you go, it's turned from blue to white. Here, it's turned blue and remained blue. There's a glowing blue edge on the side. The problem is, when the button gets hit, the left side has now turned red, as you'd expect, but on the right side, it's still blue. It's very, very important note, isn't it? It's a little bit curious that one side of the button has remained blue. You've probably figured out what's going on here. Okay, additionally, you can just about see the glow of blue underneath her elbows. Underneath her elbows, you can just about see a glow of blue. That's because the footage that you're seeing on the right-hand side here is in fact, this right-hand side here, is in fact when the button is blue. She hasn't noticed the button turn red because the button never turned red. On the other side, it has actually turned red. This is actually two different pieces of footage. There's a line cutting right down here where the footage swaps over from when the button was red and when the button was blue. Here, I don't know what footage it was taken from where the button turned red, but they are deceiving you in the fact that she did not actually not respond to the button being red, right? She's not actually just talking over the fact that it's changing. Very, very specific things to notice, and it's a bit of an unusual thing. But we'll have a look at how this affects the game a lot more in a moment. Let's just skip along to, we'll go to 333 now. Right, so I've got more to show. Yeah, I know, I don't cut my videos together. Like this is all just pretty much live. Right, okay, so we've got another set of people here. And this time, we're going to be looking at who's talking. And we're going to look at, just watch what happens, right? Okay, so the button turns red. That's all legit. Everything's legit. He hits it again just out of sort of showing frustration. It's not real frustration. He's just playing around. He hits it so hard it flips off, right? But now we have to listen carefully. Okay, so he leaves. The button's a little bit sort of broken. It's opened up. Along comes the tech. Now, the techie over here, you can hear her speaking. Very important note to make. Oh my God, yeah. Right, so that screech sound was her. In fact, if I switch on the subtitles, that was her, right? We were like, ah, that was the tech, right? So, what happens after that? Firstly, the tech just completely changes into a new person. That's because we're cutting together pieces of footage, which is fine, that's fair enough. But, watch what happens here. See if you can notice what's being added or changed.
How are you feeling, buddy?
Okay. Note to make before you do that.
Ow.
Ow, ow, ow. So that's the button talking. Remember, it's working fine. It's just the casing that's been lifted off. And when it's working, if the microphone is recording anything, the glow will be white. It'll turn blue when the button is not speaking anymore. The speaker's not playing.
Same button.
A little beat up.
Hang on a minute.
Hey.
Hang on a minute. A little beat up. The button's answering, but it's not changing to white. That's because it's not actually speaking. This is very, very important. When a person in this thing speaks, you can tell that they're speaking and you can kind of see what they're saying. And that's because you can see their mouth, right?
We all really good. Yeah.
There you can see her saying yeah. It's very, very simple. When the button speaks, on the other hand, it's a little bit more difficult to tell if it's actually saying whatever it's saying because it's just a speaker. It's just a glowing light change in a speaker. So what they can do is they can just add in post whatever the heck they want to add, and the button said it. Of course, it didn't really happen. In the scene, it didn't really happen. Now here, it's not actually affecting anything, but eventually it does, and we'll see that. Also a thing to note, look carefully at her mouth.
Ow.
You see how she's
How are you
speaking?
feeling, bud?
And then suddenly you can hear her, right?
That was
So,
scary. No. We all were like, ah! Yeah.
Ow.
How are you feeling, Button?
okay, so she was speaking, and then she spoke again and you could hear her. You couldn't hear the first time. But on top of that,
We all were like, ah!
you can actually see
How are you feeling, Button?
that person is speaking as well. Notice how their mask kind of
How are you
bounces.
feeling,
There we go. That person is speaking as well. So they're actually having a conversation. She doesn't actually talk to the button and ask, how are you feeling, button? And then the button doesn't actually respond because she never actually talked to the button. What she said was added in and cut together. It was fake. It didn't happen. It literally didn't happen. The button never said anything after that first bit. It said ow, 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 and that was it, right? It's very repetitive. It's gonna happen over and over. Here we go. We're gonna see a different type of cut, right? So we'll skip over to 6:40. Okay, right here. Really cool. What's going on? Okay, so they're having a bit of a chat. Button turns red, and you can see that's a legit button change because. Right, okay. So legit button change, you can see the glow of blue on his hand, you can see the glow of blue just about on her hand, and when it switches, there you go, you can see an immediate change of the glow of blue, right? So it switches to white, and then the red button appears, right? Same process as before. So there we go, except something's changed. Let's see if you can notice it. Did you notice it? Did you notice it? Okay, it's very quick, but we'll see it again. Hold on. Right, so there we go. The button was supposed to have changed to red, and then they didn't seem to be responding to the fact that the button was red. Except that's probably because it's not red the whole time. Notice right now, there is a white light underneath the button, despite the fact that the reflection underneath the white light is blue. They didn't cut out the blue reflection. On his hand, it's a blue glow. On her hand, it's a blue glow. It's blue. Right now, as they are speaking, the footage you're seeing, the button is blue. But they're cutting this little section here from when the button was actually turning red and just adding it there to make it look like they are having a good conversation and ignoring the fact that the button is red, where they can actually press it if they want to get rid of each other. Right? So they're making you think that something's happening when it literally isn't. We're not talking reality TV show where they just cut together different footage. No, this is literally photo editing. We are literally superimposing something on top of another thing, right? Let's see that one more time. You can see here, the button changes. Okay, within about a second, right? Within about a second, we've got a cut. The button is no longer red in these sections of the video. This footage, the button's not actually red. It just looks like it is. That's because they're completely not responding to the fact that the button is red. And then it changes to blue, and before that cut, you can see it changes to blue. No change on the glow, right? So it's fake, it's fake. They added the button changing to red to make it look like it actually changed to red. Okay, it didn't happen. nothing ever happened. This just didn't happen. Okay, so we skip over to this section here, and we're gonna see a little bit more, and then we're going to see a really bad one in the next video, right? So here we go. Same thing again. So the button changes to red. Legit. Okay, this one is important just because I want to show you what happens when both people press the button. Even though both people didn't press the button, in this case, he clearly beat her. But also, I want to just a little compliment here for this guy. Just a compliment here. This section, oh my god, watch this, right? So she moves all the way here. His hand begins to respond here. And within 4 frames, dude's pressed the button. Oh, she is here before he even begins to respond. And he still beats her. Well done, dude. Unfortunately, you don't get the win. Watch what happens. Okay.
Who did
She
it first? I
argues.
think I did, right?
I
hand
think
was
I
definitely under
beat
if you
him.
guys
He
want.
clearly
Well,
beat
but
her,
I
but
pr- I
hey,
put it
there we
first.
go.
I'm making it a tie. You're both
And the
out.
button makes it a
both
tie.
out.
Okay.
Out?
So they're both out. Right. So that's what happens when there's a tie. Very, very important to note. Even though he won, that's what happens when there's a tie. This is important because in the next video, we're going to see that again. But it's not going to be a tie, strangely enough. Right? Ooh, what's happening in my hand? There we go. That's better. It's because my hand's on the mouse. The leap motion can't see me. Okay, so here we go. We're going to skip over to another section. Ooh, it's a bit loud there. Right, so there we go. 1 minute 30. Right, so here we've got another thing going on, and it's just a little mini fake out here.
Switch to like
Right.
Disney on Ice type of shows.
Okay.
So
Donnie
watch something going
is
on.
Big Marvel
This.
nerd.
And I just switched
No.
to like
She's chatting, and when she talks, she moves her hand quite a bit.
Disney on Ice type of shows.
Okay.
Look at how her hands are moving. Note that the button is supposedly speaking.
Donnie is a big Marvel nerd. Are you
You know very well what I'm gonna say.
Marvel?
I made
Button's not actually speaking right now
Nice type of
because
shows.
the
Okay.
box is not changing. The box is just staying blue, right? The box would have to be glowing white if the button is speaking, right? And as you can see by her motions,
Donnie is a big Marvel nerd.
you can see that she's clearly explaining something. They've muted her and added in the button saying things. It's not actually saying anything. It's fake. They've just added in audio, right? To make it look like something's happening. It's just
kinda just
unbelievable.
switched to, like,
But
Disney on
you
Ice
can
type
even
of
tell
shows.
on
Okay.
her
Donnie
face here.
is a big Marvel nerd. Are you into Marvel?
I
You can actually see her mouth moving there. I don't know whether you can see it in my little crop. here.
made the
But
effort to
there we
sit
go.
it.
Note that the button is talking and it's just been added in. She doesn't respond to the button. They're just having a conversation about Marvel movies. So it just kind of works. But later on, it becomes a little bit dodgy because they are changing the words. They're changing the narrative. They're building a narrative using the button's audio, which it never actually said any of those things in the scenario, right? So here we go. We'll skip over. We've got 2:30 now. Right. So here we go. We've got 2:35. And here, watch the button turn red. Right, so button turns red, and did you see it? Okay, so button turns red, he presses the button, except that's not what happened. So, they're talking about dogs. What type of dog do you have? He has a mini Gordle-Doodle, a Gordon Ramsay, and the button changes to red, except there's a very obvious blue glow on her hand. Yeah, you know exactly what's going on here. The button never actually changed to red in this footage. They just did that on purpose so that
Doodles are so cute.
Yeah.
I love doodles.
they could make it look like he pressed the button straight after she was talking about a dog, so that you get a little bit annoyed because clearly they were vibing when it came to the subject of dogs, right? But like I said, they're weaving a narrative, right? This is building a narrative using completely fake. It's just completely fake footage. They've added footage with footage on top of it that just never fit in. It just never happened.
I'm sorry.
It's alright.
You're just not my type. Like
He didn't respond in relation to the dog mentions or anything like that, which is it's a little hint that that's not what actually happened, right? But here's where we get really obvious, and this one's fun. This one's great, right? This one's brilliant. Okay, we skip to 4:45. Here we go. This one I'm gonna let you see it all the way through, and you'll be able to tell that I'm not joking about all of this, because this one's the most obvious one. Let's just watch this entire section for a moment, right? I'm just going to keep talking a little bit just to mind the YouTube audio. You might probably already see it by now. Right. Okay. Something's happening. No one's speaking. It seems like there's some white space, some silence. Button goes red, and his hand hits it faster than anything you've ever seen, right? In fact, right now, you could still see the problem. Okay, let's see if any of you guessed what the problem was. Right, so they sit down. This is all legit. Note, watch the lighting. You already know what's going on here, right? So we've got the light, we've got a blue light glowing white. What does it mean when the blue light, the button is blue and the underside is white? It means that the thing is talking, right? The box is talking. And you can tell that because when you look at her face, not this section. Right, look at her face here. Note her eyes. Looking down, looking down, looking down, looking down. She's listening to the button speaking. But you're probably wondering, hang on a minute, button's not saying anything, we're not hearing anything, and he's also talking. Why would he be talking over the button and she'd be listening to the button? No, that's not happening. Note the blue glow. The blue glow on him, but not on her. The button's not screwed up. This is separate footage. This is completely separate footage. In fact, the entire time you watch these two, it is cut together, two separate pieces of footage. This is crazy, right? And you can tell because the button's glowing constantly, switching lighting. Here, it's switching lighting constantly on her, because the button's talking, and this dude's just speaking, completely separate footage, right? So, we're listening to him chat. Now, it looks like there's some silence, right? Uh-oh. Awkward silence. Awkward silence. Except there wasn't any awkward silence. Because, look at her face again. Looking down at the button. Look at it. Glancing down. Glancing down. Same animation that her face did. And I know we're not talking about 3D graphics here, but it's the same poses and motions that her face did here. Well, in fact, I'm gonna have to skip a bit. Watch her face. Looking down, looking down, looking down. All reflecting, changing blue, white. Look carefully at the lighting here. Note the blue, white. That's because she's listening to the button speak. That's the same footage that you saw just now, 5 seconds ago. Awkward silence because it's not actually a silence, right? They're making it look like an awkward silence. And then this part. This is beautiful, right? This is beautifully done. Note the motion of her hand. Okay, when an object moves in 3D space, it doesn't just move immediately to a position. It has to accelerate, and then the velocity carries it. When you've got a 30 frames per second video, you're going to be able to see the motion of those objects. So here we can pinpoint her finger, the end of her finger here. Next frame, it moves that much, right? It's about 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters. And then again, a few centimeters. So that's about 4 or 5. That's because she's accelerating up and she's going to slow down when she gets to the top. So there we go. One more frame and she's gone maximum speed up here. She's going to slow down. One more frame, she's here. What do you think the next frame is going to look like for her hand? It's going to be here. And then it's going to go down a little bit and then hit the button. Within 3 frames, she's going to hit the button. So let's have a look. 1, she's just over the edge of the button, like I said. 2, she's halfway down. 3, she's hit the button. You can already see what's going on right here, right now, and with the lighting and with the background. You can already tell what's going on here. So, her hand moves perfectly smoothly, not smoothie, in perfect like time order. Whereas his hand began responding at this frame. 1 frame of movement you see here. Where do you think his hand's going to be next? Right next to the button? They skipped something. And how do you know? Within 2 frames, he's hit the button 1 frame before her. And you can see that the button has changed to red for him, but not for her. That's because these are 2 separate pieces of footage. You can even see that in the glow in the background, because the wall on the background on the left has got a little bit of red glow and the wall on the right has got a little bit of white glow. If we go 2 frames forward, you can see the background has corrected itself and her hand has now changed from white glow to red glow. That's the actual footage. What actually happened here was she won. She beat him to the button. Remember what I said about when there's a tie? If they thought there was a tie, they would have disqualified both of them. That's not what happened. Even now, after they've changed this whole scene, they've skipped over, her hand is still glowing white, his hand is red. Note, the constant changes of lighting don't match up. The buttons changed to no light at all, her hand's still glowing blue. This whole time, there are changes of lighting that are not reflecting on both sides at the same time. This whole time you are looking at two separated time zones of footage, right? Because she's actually delayed on purpose by the editor.
He beat me? Okay.
And then the director told her, he beat you. We all know in reality she hit that button first. We all know that's what happened. So, what's going on here? Well, I think what's actually happened here is they accidentally said he beat her, even though she clearly hit the button way quicker than him. But they had to correct it in post. What's weird to me is, why would they correct something like that? Their whole thing, their whole shtick, if you will, is to frustrate the viewer, annoy the viewer, and make the viewer angry so that they interact and respond to the videos. If they got that wrong and showed it, it would have been better for their views. That means that's not what they're probably doing. What I think is most likely, actually, is that they direct it a lot of the time. They kind of wanted him to win because they're running out of girls, or they're running out of certain groups of people in each section. Something's happening behind the scenes and they need him to win. They need him to win so that we can carry on the show for about two more sessions, two more groups of people. Right? They're controlling who's going forward, because otherwise it's going to start looping really, really quick. Right? So it never happened. This whole section, and you can see the lighting. In fact, if I slow it down now, from this moment on, you can... Oh no, I didn't click the mini player, did I? Ugh, that'll be a mess. Right, you can see this whole time. I'm going to go half speed. You can see the whole time, from that moment on, that the reflections on her hand just don't match the lighting. There's a cut there. In fact, watch this section here. There. Here you've got the blue light glowing on the button, and then after it's switched off, 2 frames later, that's 2/30ths of a second, that's a whole 1/15th of a second, the blue light is glowing on the table now. That's some slow moving light. Yeah, so anyways, there you go, right? You can see what we're looking at. This is ridiculous. I don't even know why I'm making this video, but it got to me, right? It got to me. There's just so much going on. Okay, we'll skip ahead real quick now. Let me try and finish this video before I go crazy. Right, so something happens here. What was it? What was it that happened here? He never cut her off. Right, okay. Oh gosh. Okay, so he was just playing ping pong, right? He sounds out of breath. Now, the narrative here is this guy keeps cutting people off. That's the narrative. That's what I want you to believe, right? Watch this.
Oh, nice.
Right, so she's talking. He looks completely uninterested when he speaks, which is not true, right?
I mean, this is my first time doing this, but the girls...
Oh, that's it.
Did you see that? Right. So she's halfway through a
This
sentence.
is my first time doing this, but the girls...
Oh, that's a good question.
But the girls... Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that's a good question. Wait a minute. What the heck just happened? Right? Okay. So watch very carefully.
This is my first time doing this, but the girls...
Oh, that's a good question. How...
There. Did you see it? Look at her face here. Note the lighting here. Note the lighting change. You can see it in the background a little bit as well. That's because the light was actually white at this moment, right? But you can't see it. Now, why can't you see the light change, right? That's because it never actually was the same section, right? They cut her off on purpose here to make it seem like he actually cut her off. That's the narrative. And I know that because it's gonna happen again, right?
Juiced up on whatever, hormones are being
Just
released.
a load of nonsense
Back
goes
there,
on here to make him look a little crazy.
I guess estrogen would be it.
Right.
I mean, honestly, the girls are amazing.
And how did you?
They cut her off again. So he cuts her off again, and you can even see it in the
Right,
text here.
I mean, honestly,
right?
the
What's
girls
this?
are
Look at the subtitles. Note that it says English. It doesn't say English auto captions, right? These are not automatic. They added the ... on purpose, right? The ... was added when she says I.
amazing.
And how did you?
That was a cut. That never actually happened. Again, which is something I've been saying repeatedly this whole time. Right? It's all just fake. It's just all fake. Oh gosh, it's ridiculous. Hold on. And then there's another lighting change here that happens. And you can tell why something's happening when it's supposed to happen. Right. So, the light changes to red. You know that that's legit because the light was blue and then it changed to white, right? The glow on her. You know that's a legit change to the red button. Except something's gone wrong because there's still a blue glow on her. And why is there still a blue light underneath despite the fact that they've changed it to a red button? We know why. Because her hand is in the way. So they don't want to cut the footage together because then it'll be very obvious that they're cutting her arm in half to they're just making it look like the red button glows there and then switches off again. That never happened. It never happened. Those two sections were completely different, like far apart in time, right? Just completely ridiculous. Anyways, let's just carry on and we're gonna get this part. Listen very carefully to what the button says.
shopping and for things.
Okay,
And
so
I
it
buy
sounds productive.
Jesse
What?
is addicted to nicotine patches.
Did you hear the cut? Listen very carefully to what the cut said, right? We're gonna go 0.5.
What?
Is addicted to nicotine
There was an S in there. Is addicted to nicotine patches, right?
patches.
That's
Well,
because
so people don't know nicotine is a nootropic. So a nootropic is something that helps your brain be
he's
good.
talking about nicotine.
But yeah, I think it's dangerous to be in a sober state for too long. For me.
I think it's dangerous to be in a sober state for too long, for me. He's talking about being sober. You don't say that when you're on patches, right? He's talking about the actual real thing. Which means when the button
But
dodged,
So your brain be nicotine is a nootropic. What?
Is addicted to nicotine patches.
something happened there. The button actually said the word smoking, I'm pretty sure of it. But they cut that out. I don't know why. They just did. Just something. Maybe there was a strict policy on YouTube that they got hit with and they had to cut it and change it. I don't believe it was ever saying the word patches. But remember, we have no lip syncing to look at. We can't see whether a person was really speaking or what words they were actually speaking because we can't read the button like that, right? So we'll skip along. This is like the last little bit now. Oh, that was the last bit. That was the last one I had. There you go. What I've been trying to say the whole time is pretty obvious at this point. The whole thing is fake. And we're not talking, we're not talking video editing, cutting things together, TV show. This isn't a reality TV show. This is more like Hollywood. They are straight up editing the footage, right? We're talking Photoshop level editing the footage. They are superimposing things on top. They're modifying audio. They're slicing down the center of the footage to create two separate times of footage. It's all fake. It's all fake, right? It's completely untrustable. I know it's supposed to be entertaining, but it's also supposed to be sort of reality TV show. But like when you notice this, it's rather surprising. Hopefully this video was less uninteresting than you could have ever imagined. I know it's actually 40 minutes long. Screw it, I don't mind. There you go. Have fun with this video. If you don't watch the whole thing, fair enough. I've got plenty of videos to come soon. Gonna get 360 chicken done first, and then who knows, I've got some announcements to make soon as well. So thanks very much for dragging yourself through this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.